let's talk about what we mean by we, which is the ego, which is the sense of self. In Greek, this is ego. It's I, it's me, it's who I am, it's what I am. It's the thing that gives me a sense of self, and ultimately it's the central complex of the conscious mind. It's, in terms of a river, it is the central flow of the Nile River, opposed to all the branches, and all the branches return to the ego. So the ego, in our culture, we put a lot of weight on having a small ego, which isn't necessarily healthy for dealing with the overall onslaughts of the unconscious and onslaughts of the complexes. Because if our ego is too small, well then, if there's a complex that's bigger than it, well suddenly that's the main river and that's the main flow. And we are no longer, as Freud said, the masters of our own house. Really, we're never the masters of our own house, but we'll get more to that further on in the video. So the ego it's formed through our interactions with our parents, it's formed through our interactions with our friends, it's formed through our interactions with our culture, and it's the thing that gives us a sense of self. When you say, I am me, I am you, whoever you are, that's your ego talking. And there's something very important in that that's not to be discarded simply as something toxic, because it ultimately it's not toxic. To have a sense of self is not a toxic thing. It's a very strong thing, and we live in a very ego-driven culture. The ego, by its nature, desires a singularity. It desires answers that can be easily explained because it's something that it can grasp. It's something that it can hold on to. It's something that it can bound itself around, that it can not only keep in its orbit, but that it can draw to the surface of its planet, if we're to look at the ego as a celestial body. And so the ego's not huge on polarity. And this is something that's very difficult because the unconscious, the collective unconscious, our personal unconscious is rife with polarities. Life itself is rife with polarities. I've often said that black and white are the edges of our visible spectrum. But what exists in between black and white is every single color under the sun. Our entire lives are lived as a kaleidoscope of black and white, as a collage of the space in between black and white, the space in between singularities. And there's a beauty in that. And so this process of coming to terms with the ego, as I understand it, is allowing it to keep its place. Yes, it's the central complex of the conscious mind. It's not the central force of our psyche. It's merely the central force that drives us into the world, and aligning it with an idea that respects our own myth-making process, our own meaning-making process, our own mythology as we've found it through the process of active imagination, the process of perhaps psychedelics, the process of living. This is what gives our ego the fortitude and the resilience and the ability to bend rather than break when confronted with situations outside of its purview, with paradoxes outside of its purview, and with a spectrum outside of its immediate ability to understand. So I want to thank you very much for making it this far. I want to wish you a good morning, evening, afternoon, or good night, wherever you find yourself. Thank you for watching. This has been The Art of Remembering.